It's Arsenal versus Liverpool this weekend as last season's top two clash in what some are billing as a title decider. Is it really that this early in the season? Injuries to some players now leave us with some questions as to how we will line up. We're going to take a look at what our options are and who we think will start the game. The Champions League is back and the draw has been made. And there are some interesting games for Arsenal, both home and away. We're going to discuss our chances in this year's competition. We're going to go and round up the transfer news as Jakob Kivior to Porto looks almost complete, with Piero Hincapié from Bayer Leverkusen coming in to replace him. Finally, the Premier League predictions competition is back, where we look at the scores from last week's round of fixtures and then take a look at this weekend's fixtures to make our predictions. We're also joined by the BBC's Dan George to help us discuss all of these issues and more on episode 12 of Red Lines and Half Spaces. Welcome to episode 12 of Red Lines, Half Spaces. It's the big one this weekend, apparently. It's a bit early in the season to call it that, but it is Liverpool versus Arsenal at Anfield. Always a big game, the top two in the last season, and it's going to be an exciting game, but we're going to delve into it. But as always, I need my lovely co-host, the ever excellent Joseph. Joseph, how are you doing, my friend?
Very good, mate. Very good. We won't bore the listeners, but we're just going into life this week and all the fun that comes with trying to buy a house and being a new parent and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's been a busy week. So looking forward to getting back towards the weekend, getting some football and a sense of normality back into my chaotic life at the moment.
Oh, chaos is the way when you've got a child and house moving and all that. We also do have a special guest. We're so grateful because he's a busy man. It is the excellent Dan George from the BBC. Dan, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I've got to say I'm a big fan of the new show. It's been great to tune in and listen to the episodes so far. We go way back in terms of some of the things we've been on, and yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be here. Joe as well, nice to meet you, and I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you here, mate. Dan, if no one knows who you are, and they should do, because you should be keeping up on Twitter and all these things, but Dan, do you just let everyone know what you're doing and where they can find you?
Yeah, we're just what I do is we cover a certain section of the country for the BBC Sport website and app. That's mainly our EFL coverage of some of the teams down there like Southampton, Bournemouth, and a few other EFL sides. It's just kind of extensive coverage of those clubs and other sports down on the south coast. I did actually grow up an Arsenal fan, and come across you guys at some games before, and it's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. Looking forward to having football back, and I'm a big fan of the EFL. I love the Premier League, but the EFL, in my opinion, some of the most exciting and kind of fun stories and football you get down there. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment.
Oh, yeah, it's always great when I see you tweet out and when I see you on TV. This man's on TV occasionally, and it's always a pleasure. But if you please do, everyone who's listening, please do follow Dan at Dan George. Find him on X. It's always insightful from him. He's so good at this. But Dan, you are an Arsenal fan, as you mentioned, and obviously we're an Arsenal podcast. So let's dive into the big talking point of this week, which is obviously the big game at the weekend. Liverpool versus Arsenal. It's always a classic. It's definitely high pressure this year because obviously we are the top two from last year. Liverpool won it at a canter. There's no denying that Liverpool were the better team. And obviously this year it's come a bit early. But Dan, let's start with this notion that this is a title decider already. What do you think? Is this a title decider for you? For me, it's too early in the season. I think it's certainly a game where you can stamp your title credentials, but I don't see this as a title decider already. What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen Jamie Carragher's already making excuses for Liverpool on his X account, tweeting out an article that this could be a transition season for Liverpool now with all the extra players they brought in. No, I think it's one of those games where it's really important to beat your rivals, your title rivals, and this is a big opportunity. You know, going away to Anfield is never the easiest place to go, and I think it's one of those ones. If you go to Anfield and you win any kind of win, it's just one of those ones where you're letting your, you know, like you kind of say in a lot of sports, you're letting your opponent know where, you know, you're there early on, kind of thing. And I think it's more of a psychological thing than anything else if you do win. Um, and I think it shows everyone that Arsenal are serious this season. If you know, people can't see that already. If you're able to keep goals out at Anfield as well, I think that's a huge thing. And I think Arsenal were really impressive at Old Trafford, the way that even though I know everyone's kind of piling in on them, Man United were on that day, I think, very dangerous, and they looked very good. And the defensive ability to sit in and backs against the wall and not concede is a really, really good trait to have. And I think if you can perform like that at Anfield, then I think it would be huge.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's room for optimism as we go to Anfield. Joe, what are your thoughts on this? Is this a title decider for you, or is this, as Dan said, psychological? You want to show you beat your rivals, get the one up, and really set the rhythm for the season. We've got 2 wins so far, and we all know, everyone in football knows, the the more you can set a rhythm, keep the wins going. Look at Liverpool last year. They set the rhythm and it carried them through to the season, didn't it, Joe?
Hmm. Yeah, similar to Dan, I don't think. Well, it's not a title decider at all, but the media will dress it up as a title decider because it puts more pressure on the game, it gets more interest and all that sort of stuff. So I understand why they're calling it that. It's the top two best teams in the country last year going against each other. They're going to ramp it up and sort of put some put some pressure on it. But I think, like you said, it's just what I quite like is that we go into these difficult grounds early in the season. Typically, I find that we've gone later in the season when we've needed results and it has been genuine title deciders and genuine 6 pointers. Teams have found their rhythm and all that sort of thing. So I'm quite looking forward to getting these fixtures out of the way early because they're almost where teams haven't got into any rhythm yet. They're almost like individual games, like they're not sort of Premier League games. So it's quite nice to be going there. Liverpool won't have got into their stride yet. Obviously, we haven't hit our stride yet, but I think it just gives us a better chance of getting a result there. Obviously, I think the last 3 have been draws, but overall our record at Anfield, I think it was something like 6 wins, 11 draws, and 16 losses. So similar to Old Trafford, it's typically a place where we struggle, I think. So to go there and if we was to go there and draw, by no means is that a bad result for us. But what I would like is to see us go there and try and win the game. I've seen us go there and think, right, okay, we only need a point, or that's a good result, and we'll take the point. But I'd really just like us so early in the season. I'd like us to see them go there and really just try and win the game.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Joe. I think we've got room for optimism this year to go to Anfield. I think the first 2 games of this season, certainly. Liverpool haven't been as impressive as last season, where they were, on it and absolutely destroying teams. Look, they're going to score a hatful of goals all the time. We can see that. But Dan, to me at the moment, and I'd love your opinion on this. Liverpool look disjointed and unbalanced. I think there is that midfield looks unbalanced. They do have, Alexis McAllister coming back, but it still doesn't look quite ready. And then their 2 fullbacks, obviously Frimpong is out this week, but Kirkes hasn't settled in as well as thought, and there is some defensive frailty there. Then obviously at the back, Konate looks very vulnerable at the moment, and Van Dijk is a fabulous defender. But how do you see it, Dan? Do you think that this is the time to go to Liverpool, that you've got a chance here, because Liverpool seem to be very inconsistent and unbalanced?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Bournemouth on that first game of the season when Antoine Semenyo really threatened them, and I thought, him in transition, he's so dangerous. Interesting, I think Kirkes is as good as a defender he is, and he was really impressive during his time in Bournemouth. I thought that when he went for the money he did to Liverpool, and the amount he was being hyped up did just kind of make me raise an eyebrow a little bit, because I knew he's good, but I do think there's still a lot of vulnerabilities in his game, and he's still a little bit raw. There's no denying the talent. I just think that over a few years' time, it might take him a few more years to develop into the talent and the player that people are kind of making him out to be. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think Ekitike looks really, really good. I'm really impressed with him so far. Um, and Liverpool have got that quality where they just need one moment, especially at Anfield, and they can just kind of finish you off. And I think you can never underestimate Liverpool at Anfield as well. It's not been a happy hunting ground for Arsenal, and I just got a feeling that the transitions are the way that you can really get to this Liverpool team, and I'd love to see. Noni Madueke probably is going to start on the right hand side, and I know we'll get into it, but I think if he's able to really kind of threaten Kirkes down that left, and kind of get the better of him on a few occasions early on, then we could be in for a really interesting game. I don't know if trying to dominate Liverpool and have control over Liverpool is the right game plan in this kind of atmosphere and stage, but I do think that, with the likes of Martinelli, Madueke, Gyökeres, and potentially Eze with space in behind, I'd be really interested to see if you're able to really hurt Liverpool on the transition. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game, and really intrigued to see how Arsenal set up going into it. But I think despite there's some worrying injuries, but I still think Arsenal are in a really strong position to go to Liverpool and hurt them.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the lineups now. So Joseph, obviously we do have a few injuries, as Dan has mentioned. We are, the news this week that Kai Havertz has had to have surgery and is out for probably, the conservative estimate is 4 weeks. The max they're thinking is about 9 weeks, which is not ideal, but it's a lot better than what we did think originally, isn't it? And obviously, but it's still a big miss considering that we went into this season thinking, look, we've got 2 strikers and we can really rotate and or even use Havertz, in this kind of versatile role. But it is a bit of a blow with Havertz, and then obviously Martin Odegaard is that most people think he will make it, but he's got that shoulder injury. Bukayo Saka as well is now out for about 4 weeks, so that rules him out of this game completely. I mean, how do you view the injuries and how they're going to affect us? And then obviously talk to us about your potential lineup for the game.
Yeah, it's just typical, isn't it? I can't remember the last time we went to Anfield with a fully fit 11. I mean, whenever we go there, we've got players out or knocks or suspensions or whatever it might be. But what gives me confidence is even with players out, we've this year got a squad that's capable of going there and filling in those gaps. If Odegaard's out, we've got people who can come and play that position. Saka, absolutely gutted he's out for 4 weeks, but there's also a part of me that's very grateful it's only 4 weeks. And we've got people who can come in now in Madueke, who can come in and actually be like an able understudy or replacement for him for the duration that he's out. So whilst, yes, it's disappointing to lose players to injuries, it'll be interesting to see what this squad is capable of that we've built now. And if we're able to go to these difficult places and still not have to kind of ride our luck a bit, and we can go there and still play our game, In terms of lineup for me, I wouldn't change too much, I don't think, from the Leeds game. I'd be tempted to go with MLS instead of Calafiori for this one, just because I think Calafiori's game is obviously quite a marauding fullback, and we know Salah doesn't like to track back. So the idea of Calafiori going on one of his mad runs and just leaving Salah acres of space that side of the pitch concerns me a little bit. So I'd probably go MLS at left back for that reason alone. I think you go with Timber, Saliba, Gabriel as you would do. I want to see Zubimendi and Rice continue. I thought that was outstanding against Leeds, so I just want to see them continue to build on that partnership. That's looking really good. If Odegaard is fit, I start him. I know there's a lot of clamour to get Eze in the side, but for me, Odegaard is so important, not just in terms of the attacking, but dictating the press and all the kind of the organisation that comes with sort of that role. So I think he's got to start, especially at Anfield. Things like that are really, really important in big games like that. So I think he's got to start if he's fit. And then personally, I would put Martinelli back in on the left, Madueke on the right, and obviously Gyökeres up top. I know Martinelli's not played very well of late, but for me, I just wonder if leaving him out against Leeds was kind of to give him a bit of a rocket, just to say, look, if you want to get in this side, you need to start performing. So that could light a bit of a fire in him. And historically, I discussed it on the last pod. Yeah, I think he's performed quite well against Liverpool. He seems to always have better games against them. I appreciate he's been up against Trent, but with Liverpool's fullbacks being so attacking, I wonder if this is a game potentially suited for Martinelli. And he's got confidence in going to Anfield, hasn't he? So I think he scored the first goal last year for us. So yeah, I think that'd be my side. What are you guys saying?
Dan, what do you think? You've heard Joe's lineup. What would you line up with at Anfield?
Sorry, I just had a pop-up just stop me from unmuting my mic. Um, no, I think sorry guys. No, I agree with Joe. Actually, listening to the last episode, I thought that Martinelli against Liverpool just for some reason works. And I think his pace is something that scares them. He's someone that's still got heaps of ability, even when he's been so frustrating. And when your backs are against the wall, you want those fast players that can get you out of trouble sometimes. So I think it will be I agree with Joe. I think Martinelli is someone that I'd like to see in the team. Um I, I, I don't know. I got a weird feeling Odegaard won't play because I know Arteta said today that he's not trained, has he? Ahead of the game, and
No.
I've just got a weird feeling that if he's not trained, is he really going to be ready to go straight in there? And I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to maximize the amount of physio work they can do on his shoulder until he's in a place where he's comfortable. But it just worries me a little bit. And I do wonder if we might
So
see
who'd you
Eze.
put in for who?
Yeah, no, I do wonder if we
Ooh.
might see Eze kind of just thrown straight in. And yeah, another kind of point. I think it was Joe that said it in the last episode, where you've just got that element of unknown now about the Arsenal 11, which I think is such a good thing to have in terms of these big games where opposition can't necessarily prepare for who they're going to face, what they're going to face, and facing Martinelli or facing Trossard are two very different propositions. And facing someone like Eze is a complete unknown, probably an unknown for Arsenal as well in terms of how he might settle best into the team. So yeah, I think the rest of the lineup kind of speaks for itself a little bit. I think Calafiori is a little bit as good as a footballer as he is going forward. I think 1v1 defensively, he can be got at a bit, especially if you're not kind of sat back with more cover around him. So again, Miles Lewis-Skelly I think might be a good shout for this game. I think Ewan Timber goes straight in there at right back. Centre-back partnership and goalkeeper speaks for itself, and then I think you're going to see Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi, and I'm looking forward to just seeing how that pair in particular develop as the season goes on, because I think they're two tremendous footballers, and once they click, I think it is going to be. I think you might see one of those really long kind of unbeaten runs for Arsenal during the Premier League season, because the promise and the kind of glimpses we've seen so far in pre-season and the early stages, there's moments and when they look really, really good. And yeah, I think they're a partnership to be excited for.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, obviously, as you both said, the goalkeeper and the two centre backs decide themselves. I think Timber will start at right back. You can't drop someone who had 2 goals against in the last game and is probably the best one-on-one defender in the league when you're going up against Gakpo or even Wirtz as well. The left is an interesting one because I get both of your points about Calafiori on the transition and he struggles to run back. But he does cause chaos, and Liverpool do not like that. That's the thing. It's one or the other. Like you take the game to them, and you use Calafiori for his undoubtedly chaos factor, or you plan and you hold the defensive line and hold out for something on the break. I'm going to go with you. I think MLS will start just purely because he will hold the line better. He can get back better, but still break through that midfield, which I still think has got some teething issues at the moment, even though it was the one that was settled last year. But McAllister's only just been in training this week. So I think in the midfield, again, Zubimendi Rice looks an outstanding partnership. The Martin Odegaard question, because even if he's like half fit, I still wouldn't put him in because you don't need to risk it, do you? as we've just said, it's not really that big a deal at the moment at this time of the season. You want to show that you can beat Liverpool. It's not a title decider. Do you risk it all and put your chips onto Martin Odegaard, a half-fit Martin Odegaard, to whereas realistically in the big games, I mean, I mean, for me, he hasn't really performed in the big games regularly enough. I do think the question is it Wanyeri, who's young, did well in the Leeds game, but again, this is a big pressure game, and you do wonder if he'll disappear in that game. I think Eze might be the one if Odegaard doesn't make it, because I think Eze's still ready. He's such a, Premier League ready, knows Anfield, does really well at Anfield as well. It's just the team getting used to him, but on the transition, it's a phenomenal prospect. Left, I think Martinelli is a good shout because Martinelli does very well. And I think this kind of game platforms him a lot better against a transition team. You can go in behind. Noni Madueke, definitely on the right. I don't see anyone else who could usurp that. I think he's got an excellent chance here to really cement that position and help and show that he can be a very good option on the right, and especially in this kind of big game against an opponent he's done well against in Kirkes. Victor Gyökeres, I think this is a game for Victor Gyökeres in terms of, I know he has to start, but high line, transition, this is Victor Gyökeres' game. This is the one he wants. This is where, exactly, Dan, we want to see that celebration against Liverpool. But, I mean, again, did well in the last game. I thought he was making really good runs, and I think it's still a teething issue with us trying to find him and make, when he makes those runs. But one thing I noticed, Joe, because obviously you were at the game, is he's constantly making runs off the defender, which is what you want your striker to do, isn't it? And this is what I think will help us in this transition kind of phase, especially against a high line against Liverpool. Would you agree that Gyökeres is running those defenders? He's something different. He's not a Havertz who's going to drop deep and try and draw the defender out. He's going to go at that defender.
Well, yeah, as we said, mate, before, like we haven't played with a centre forward in years, really. Like, I know we've had sort of Havertz and Jesus, but they're both very, very much come to the ball, link up play, don't really want to kind of get defenders on the turn and run at them. So, no, so it will take us time. I mean, we was all saying that Gyökeres obviously has to learn to play kind of the Arsenal way, but equally, we have to learn how to play with a proper centre forward now. So it's going to take time. And I think obviously struggled up at United, but I think the whole team was really poor in that game. So I don't just sort of blame him for that solely. But yeah, home to Leeds, really promising what we saw from him. Made a lot of good runs. Wasn't always found, but it started to come more and more throughout the game. You could see that kind of relationships between him and sort of the other players kind of building from there. So no, it's really positive. And like you said, mate, if it's a transition game at Anfield and he's playing on shoulders, then he's ideal because you can put a ball over the top and he's going to stretch him, and that will help us massively because really Martinelli has been the only player who's really been able to do that for us. And obviously we know he's struggled in form for quite a while now. So no, it's good. Options, hopefully, like we said, with Liverpool, how high they play, hopefully play into our hands somewhat.
And Dan, just to you on the striker debate that's going on, obviously at the start of the window, everyone was talking about it's going to be Sesko or it's going to be Gyökeres. We ended up with Gyökeres. And at the moment, look, again, Sesko has fantastic attributes and looks a great prospect. But at the moment, it looks like the right decision was made for that kind of here and now striker that's going to develop, that we're going to utilize now, because Sesko is not, I don't think struggling, but there are concerns developing in terms of there was talk before that he was concerned about usurping Kai Havertz, his ability to usurp Kai Havertz, and does he have the mentality? And then you saw in the midweek in the Carabao Cup loss against Grimsby, ha ha ha, we can all laugh at that.
Beautifully put in there. You haven't done that.
Oh yeah, look, I had to get it in there. Let's just all laugh at Man United because who doesn't at the moment? But Sesko took what was it, the 10th penalty in that thing, which to me personally, and you guys tell me otherwise, but if you're the man, you're the striker. Look what Gyökeres did. He literally was he was a predator round that. When the penalty was given, you knew who was going to take it. I already knew, even though Declan Rice held the ball, it was going to be no one else but Gyökeres taking that penalty. He's every time you talk to him, it's about goals. I don't care about anything else. It's goals, goals, goals. Whereas when I and again, this is all hearsay and secondhand information, but with Sesko, it seems like he's not as confident in himself, and maybe that's how he comes across. But Dan, how do you view this debate at the moment in terms of Sesko, Gyökeres, and then obviously the talk that we just had with Joe about, Gyökeres versus a top level defense in Liverpool's defense?
Yeah, I think there's still a few question marks over how he performs against those, like you said, top level defenses. Um, I think there's still a lot to be seen, and I look forward to seeing how he gets on with that. But I think the signing of Gyökeres, it does more than just playing ability. I think his goal against Leeds was brilliant, the first one, where he was able to just, he was so direct. I think there's so many players that might make that run that Arsenal have that would then look to cross it or look to play a pass at some point. But the way that he was lasered in on the goal, I don't think the Leeds players really expected it. And I think that's just a refreshing trait to have from a striker that Arsenal haven't had in a long time. And I also think that in some of these games, what he does is he takes a lot of the emphasis off Saka. He's so good over on that right-hand side. Towards the end of last season, we saw teams putting 2-3 men over on that side to kind of deal with him. But even though you look at the Man United game, and De Ligt did a fairly decent job on Gyökeres, if we're being honest, you're taking defenders away from Saka and you're taking them onto other players. And I think that's something that will only benefit the team, and it helps with the balance as well. So yeah, no, I think Gyökeres is, like you say, was the right purchase. Some of the money involved in the Sesko deal seemed edging on silly, I think. So yeah, I think Gyökeres has still got a bit to prove in terms of can he do it at the Premier League level, but I've got no doubt that he's going to score goals this season, and I think that's what Arsenal need. And like you said, for here and now, and yeah, I'm excited. I think it's a signing to be excited about, and someone that is only going to get better under Arteta as well. So I think there's lots to be excited about, and when Kai Havertz does come back and is fit, it'll be interesting to see how they're rotated as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting when Kai Havertz comes back, how they're going to interchange or even play together. Okay, we're going to shift our way, away from the Premier League and the game against Liverpool. We are going to do some predictions at the end. So obviously, all those who have been listening know that me and Joe have a running predictions game. We're going to get the results of last week, who's in the lead. But we're also going to invite Dan to do his one. So we're going to see how we do, and then we'll obviously announce it next week. But we're going to shift focus to the Champions League. The draw was made yesterday. My God, wasn't that an extended Champions League draw? All these videos of self-gratifying and Alexander Sheffirin and the UEFA seniority, and then Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Honestly, I could do without it. Obviously, my sister Reshmin Chowdhury, who we love, is hosting, and she's always one of the great ones to see. But I just thought it was so long-winded yesterday before we actually got to the draw. What did you guys think? Just briefly on that before we talk about the actual draw itself. Dan, how did you view the UEFA presentation?
I didn't watch it, if I'm being honest. I was following it on social media. I had I've recently started playing Sunday League, so I had Sunday League training, so I wasn't able to watch it. But yeah, these UEFA things, they've always been so drawn out, and it's a little bit frustrating when you're sat there and you just like get on with it, and it's the same with all the draws, isn't it? But yeah, I think
today's Europa League, isn't it? Today's the Europa League, isn't it? They're doing that shortly, so that'll be as bad as yesterday.
Even the Conference League, I'm sure they're all exactly the same. But yeah, no, I think I quite like the new group stage kind of format for the Champions League. To be honest, I think it's so much more entertaining in terms of getting some of the big teams early on. And I think it's been a big kind of driving force behind Arsenal's recruitment as well, just having that depth, so you can rotate but maintain the quality when you've got these big games. And when you've got the likes of, Bayern Munich, Inter, Atleti, even Bilbao, some of these teams, they're big games, and they will be big games, especially Inter away. You look at something like that, that would be a very hostile atmosphere at some point in midweek. But yeah, no, I think the new Champions League format's something that I'm enjoying, and I hope Arsenal can have as good a run as, last season, if not better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Joe, how are you viewing the new format? Is it something that you're a fan of? As Dan said, he's a fan of it. Do you think? Are you a fan of that?
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's nice to change things up every now and again, isn't it? I mean, the Champions League group stages and its previous format, it's very predictable, wasn't it? You'd have sort of the top. You might have one group where there's kind of three teams that are kind of battling out, but in every other group, you had two teams who run away with it. You'd had one who'd get the Europa League spot, and there'd be someone at the bottom whose goal difference was -18 after 6 games. So no, they've freshened it up, and it's. I think it worked well last year. So yeah, long may it continue. 'Cause I think it's actually working quite nicely, and it's got more people engaged from the start. It feels more like a big competition again because you're seeing the big games early.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so let's go through our Champions League draw. I thought we actually got a very decent draw in comparison to others. So we've got first the fixture list has not been solidified yet. We don't know the dates at the moment, but we've got Bayern Munich at home, Inter away, Atletico Madrid at home, Club Bruges away, Olympiacos at home, Slavia Prague away, Kairat Almaty, who knocked out Celtic, at home, and Athletic Bilbao away. Dan, when you look at that list, I think it's okay. It's not too bad. It's that there's, obviously you're looking at the Bayern Munich, Inter, and Atletico Madrid games are kind of you, they're not necessarily winnable, but we've got a better chance this year against these teams because I don't think they're in superlative form. They're good teams and they always will be. But I look at Inter, for example, and I think they're not the team they were last year. They were. I think some of the aura has disappeared slightly. Atletico Madrid is going to be a dogged affair. Bayern Munich, again, you can't really tell. They've made some good signings. They've got Luis Diaz now, but at home, I still think we've got a good team there. How do you view the draw that's been made for us?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's a nice mix, isn't it? And that's the kind of benefit you get from this new format. Um, the Bayern game will be a bit of fun. A good test. I wonder if it might be a bit reminiscent of the PSG game last season, where they're maybe not as strong as they were, earlier on compared to the end of the season. Yeah, no, I think it'll be really interesting to get a nice mix, and I think it's more friendly for the fans because you get those big games still in the group stages, and a good chance to get to some games as well. And yeah, just looking at the obviously Club Bruges, that would have been Rangers if they got through. It sounds like Russell Martin's getting off to a good start up in Scotland. Not,
Oh, yes.
and yeah, no, some decent teams in there. Um, a good chance to test yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Joe, how are you viewing this, and where do you think? So, where do you think? How do you think we'll end up in terms of results? And do you think we can get to that top half of the table? Because I think it's the first 8 places automatically go through. But I think we've got a good chance, haven't we? I'm not looking at this list and going, "Oh, that's it. It's all over. It's not. It's impossible against these teams." I'm looking at these, and most of them are winnable. I think.
Yeah, so obviously it's nice to have Bayern and Atletico at home. So I think if there was away fixtures, then we could be looking at this slightly differently. They're obviously two very difficult games, but to have them at the Emirates, I'd fancy us to do quite well out of them. Um, Obviously, the other two home games, Olympiacos and Kairat Almaty, they should be winnable games at home. You'd think quite comfortable. And then the aways, like the going to Bilbao, obviously pre-season's very different, but we've seen what they're about. We should feel fairly comfortable going there, I think. Slavia Prague, Club Bruges, with all due respect to them, should be a level beneath Arsenal, really. So we should be going there, winning them games. Into away, we saw last year, quite a difficult place to go. Um, but no, mate, I'll be fairly confident of us getting into that top eight. Um, I know the fixtures aren't released till tomorrow, but I'm a bit sad. So I've been through our fixture list and seen and had a look to see where these fixtures are going to come in. We don't know obviously who we're playing in them, but I've worked it out that we're after there's going to be only two away Premier League games after Champions League fixtures out of the eight we have. So when we play our Champions League games, six of the following games will be Premier League games at home. which I think
Okay.
could benefit us quite well.
That's actually a good thing in terms of,
Yeah,
but it
so
depends on which game, which potential games are we looking at? Because obviously the problem we had last season was obviously the squad was strapped quite thin, after these, and obviously we went to these away. We had some tough away. We went to Newcastle away, didn't we? After who was it? We had a massive game, and then we went to Newcastle away, and it was absolute chaos because they just absolutely blew us off the park.
Yeah, so I've been maybe let's see what people think. I might have been a little bit sad, but I've actually kind of worked it out. So our first Champions League game will fall between Nottingham Forest at home and Man City at home.
It's
The
not too bad.
second game will fall between Newcastle away and West Ham at home. Third game falls between Fulham away and then Palace at home. Fourth one is Burnley away and then Sunderland away. So that's not ideal. But two sort of promoted teams, so you'd still think fairly sort of comfortable away games. It's not like going to City, Liverpool, Chelsea, one of them. Match day 5 could be potentially a bit of a tricky one because that's in between Tottenham away and Chelsea at home. So that's one to look out for. Hopefully get a home fixture in there against sort of one of the lesser teams with any luck. Then the last 3, so match day 6 will be between Villa away and Wolves at home. Match day 7 is between Forest away and United at home. And then match day 8 is between United at home and Leeds away. So looking at them, it's not a nightmare sort of fixture list we're going to get. It could fall really quite nicely for us if things go well. So I think that match day 5 is probably the one to keep an eye out for, just to see who we're playing and where we're going during that game week.
Respect the
Dan,
commitment
how are
to
you
the
feeling about that?
research. I respect the commitment to the
No,
research, Joe. Some
this is
effort.
Listen, I'm committed to doing this, mate. This is going to be the thing that takes me out of full-time employment, and I'm going to work on this as a full-time job.
Tactico videos coming soon from Joe and all this kind of stuff. I've beaten the supercomputer. I know exactly where we're going to fall. This is it. But looking at that, Dan, as Joe said, it's going to be key. The squad depth is going to be key, isn't it? Because we're not going to be able to play the same 11 between all these games. It's impossible with the lengths you have to go through and the range of games. We're going to have to rotate, and some of these games do allow us to. Looking at Kairat Almaty, Slavia Prague, you've got such a deep squad. You've got to use it properly, isn't it? It's something that Mikel has not been amazing at, but we need to do it much more, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. And just before I do, touch on that, on the squad depth, I will say maybe a slight element of trauma to Olympiacos at home, bearing in mind the last time that game happened.
Oh God, yeah.
What is that? That was the Aubameyang overhead kick followed by getting knocked out the Europa League, wasn't it? Oh, that was
that was it. We need to serve them something up, don't we? That's the thing. We need revenge is a dish best served cold.
No rotation, just full strength, and
I want the full team in that. I don't care. It's Olympia. There's big one.
Before that fixture when they put out like the last team that Arsenal had when they played Olympiacos, I'm looking forward to the side by side of the two starting 11s for that, because that'll be a comedic watch, I'm sure.
For sure. But in terms of the depth, I think it's Arsenal in such a better place this season. As much as some people at stages of the window were a bit, kind of disappointed that you weren't necessarily adding to some positions. I think that when you look at the likes of, Norgard and Marino that can now take over the midfield, Waneri, Eze can take over from Odegaard in further forward midfield if needed. And then the likes of Mosquera, he's looked really encouraging in pre-season. There's so many more options across the field. Even goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga, I think, is a really good bit of business for the price Arsenal paid for him. He had a really solid season at Bournemouth last season as well. So I was actually a bit surprised he would go to Arsenal after playing a full season at Bournemouth. And now, if we're being honest, he's probably going to be the rotation keeper. Well, he is going to be the rotation keeper for the rest of the season because David Raya has been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I think now you look at the options. As unlucky as Arsenal have been with injuries already this season, the likes of Madueke to come in on that right hand side, and I thought he looked really good against Leeds when he did go over to that right. So I'm excited to see how he gets on in a full 90 at Anfield, which is the ultimate test. So the depth is in a really good place. I think Christian Norgard looked really good in, was it the game against Athletic Club, I think, for the 45 minutes he
Yeah.
played. It's a shame he's been injured, to be honest, because I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more of him so far this season. But yeah, I think he's a really, really good option. And, Mikel Merino's going to have to put away his striker boots and put his midfield boots on and prove himself all over again in as a midfield player. I mean, but the thing is, as much as I know people have been saying that he's not at the levels of a Zubimendi, Rice, Norgard, he scores goals, like even from midfield, and I think that's a really it's a valuable asset and trait to have. So I
Yeah.
think he can still be rotated in and around, and I'll be interested to see as the season goes on what kind of minutes he gets and how much of an impact he's actually able to have.
Yeah, and obviously this is the thing. The squad, regardless of what you think of them, they need to play. You need these games. Marino's going to be such a valuable asset in those kind of lesser games. I'm not going to. The Champions League is obviously very competitive, but the lesser games where you want that goal, that person who's going to crash the goal and give you something different. Dan, I wanted to also touch upon one more point about what we just talked about. Where do you think Arsenal will end up, in your opinion? Joe gave his opinion, thinks we'll get to the top eight. Do you think the top eight is a realistic aim for Arsenal? Because obviously the top eight go through. The higher you're placed this year, which is a slight change, is that you'll get a more favourable draw in terms of away, at home in the second leg, which is something we didn't get despite being the highest placed team, against those teams that we did play.
In the Champions League, yeah. Where do you think Arsenal go in the Champions
Yeah.
League? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Well, where do you think do you think they'll finish top eight? I mean, obviously, quarterfinals and all that we talk about later, but do you think they'll make the top eight with that fixture list?
Yeah, I think so. I think, last season the Champions League also kind of showed that Arsenal, I don't know why, but it just seemed easier in the Champions League compared to some of the league games. It just seemed like you were able to cut through some of the defences much easier. Obviously, the PSG game was a completely different animal when you got Gigi Donnarumma making some of the most unbelievable saves I've ever seen in my life. If he goes to Manchester City, I might actually have some nightmares. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But he was unbelievable in that game. But the rest of the Champions League, especially the group stage, I thought Arsenal were really impressive, and it almost, like I said, did seem a little bit easier than some of the Premier League games. So I do expect Arsenal to finish, I'd say, in the top eight with those games. I think the real tests are the Bayern at home. I don't know what Atleti are like as much these days, but Inter away is never an easy place to go. But I'd expect, outside of Bayern and maybe Inter, if you've got some injuries or things don't go right, I'd expect a victory, I'd say, in each of those other games.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think we're going to make the top eight as well. I think we've got too much quality in our squad to not get there. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for that one. We're going to switch it out to some transfers because we all love transfers at the moment. Last few days of the window, and today looks like the deal for Jakub Kiwior is close to completion to Porto. Around the 27 million euro-ish mark. It's still not clear, and I hate this toing and froing between the euros and the pounds, but look, it is a euros deal. He's going off to Portugal. But Joe, this, we talked about this. It's a bit of a shame that he's leaving, but again, we're not going to. This is probably his top, the point of which he's going to get the most value, isn't it, at the moment?
Yes, mate. I think he's probably one of the few Arsenal squad players, I think, who have probably got a bit of value. And I think this is where we are lagging so far behind Liverpool, and where we need to really address what we're doing, because it's very obvious at Arsenal who are sort of the players who are regulars and those who aren't wanted. There's no in between. There's no, oh, he's a good squad player, or it's either you're part of the team or you're not really wanted. So any player who is sort of a squad player at Liverpool, they seem to get good money for, and that's because they're used. That's because they're sort of kept in and around the team. They're subbed in games, and they get the occasional start and whatnot. And it just makes them teams have to pay more to get them because they are being used. Whereas at Arsenal, I'd say really Kiwior is probably the only one where you'd say he's a squad player, but he is used regularly. So that's why we've got a bit of value for him. So yeah, going forwards, I think this is sort of you would have wanted more money for him, but Kiwior is one of the players who you'd say, right, okay, I think we bought him for fairly cheap and you've made a good profit on him. So going forward, that's kind of where we now need to be looking. So, for example, Trossard, who I thought was going to go this summer, we gave him a new contract, and so that one's off the table now. But sort of going into years coming up, players like, I don't know, Amadeweke, for example, if he does okay but not brilliantly, and the team comes in and offers a load of money for him because he's been used by us, then we might be willing to take that money and then reinvest it again. And this is now what we're going to be able to do with a bigger squad, use more players, and hopefully now from kind of this point onwards, we'll see players sort of holding more value rather than being outcasts and having to terminate contracts like we've done previously.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a bit of an issue at the moment. One of the players who's being looked at, obviously, to be let go is Zinchenko, who's been linked to Marseille this morning, Dan. But the wages are proving to be one of the biggest problems. He's on 165K a week. I mean, as Joe said, Dan, this is a real problem for Arsenal, isn't it? In terms of it is a bit of a struggle to move these players on for real value. Even Kivior's value is not amazing in that regard. It's
Mm.
decent. We're getting something. But you look at Zinchenko, that one's not really going to net us out anything amazing, is it? Just because he's on such high wages, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, Fabio Vieira is another one, if you remember that guy. I think that there's a number of, there's a few of them, isn't there? Kivior's one, Zinchenko's one, Fabio Vieira, Reece Nelson, there's been talks of him in Crystal Palace. Um, I just think, I said it the other day when I was talking about Arsenal a bit on the radio. I just think that as much as in terms of incomings, Arsenal have been so good recently, and even over the past few years, the signings have been really good and encouraging and taken Arsenal on this kind of upward trajectory. I just think they've not sold really well at all, and it's just a little bit of a worrying trait when you're cancelling contracts and people are going for nothing, especially someone like Reece Nelson, when you've looked at what he was once hyped to be, and I still believe he's a very, very good winger that could probably do a good job at. I mean, you look at Amari Hutchinson, just gone to Nottingham Forest for what, 30 something, £35 million.
Yeah.
I'd argue if you're looking player for player, is Reece Nelson worse than Amari Hutchinson? I don't. Hutchinson's had some great experience at Ipswich, and he's looked a good player. And to be fair, I think Nottingham Forest did overpay for him, but um, someone like Reece Nelson, I think, should be going for more than some of the money that's been talked about, and definitely not on a free transfer. So, yeah, it's a big last few days for Arsenal, and if you don't get at least two of those out the door for a transfer fee, I think I'd be a little bit disappointed at this stage.
Yeah, I agree. And then what about incomings, Dan? Obviously, the big link is to Piero here in Cape from Bayer Leverkusen, left back, left centre back. How close are we to that one? Do you think? What are you hearing from your grapevine at the moment? Where are we at?
No, I'm hearing nothing, by the way. I'm not in the know on Arsenal transfers, unfortunately.
He's lying. He's lying. He knows everything.
um, no, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think it's because do Arsenal need that player right now if everyone stays fit in the squad? I mean, it's a kind of, it's a question. I do wonder if it means something about the future of some of the players that are there currently. I don't know. I think it's a good signing, and I'd be interested to see him come in. But to be honest, it's not a signing I think everyone expected. I think from the way that a lot of people were talking about how, from a PSR perspective, Arsenal were close to their UEFA ceiling before even signing Eze. And then when Arsenal signed Eze, I was like, oh, hold on a second. Have you suddenly got to get a load of players out? What's going on? And then there's suddenly talk of, signing this guy for what, 40 something, £50 million. But I mean, it does sound like there's going to be a loan with an option obligation to buy. So I think that's probably a smart move. But it's a bit of a one extra, a luxury that we weren't really, expecting to get. So it's definitely a bonus. And yeah, it sounds like it's going to happen, to be honest, from some of the stuff that I've seen online. So yeah, I look forward to seeing where he plays, how he kind of fits in, and what the kind of long-term plan is for him. But I think I've got more questions than, answers, I guess, at this stage in terms of him.
Okay, fair enough. And then, Joe, do you think we're going to make one more after this? There are some rumours that we may look at a forward player again, or do you think that's it? I mean, Dan said we're running close to our headroom.
I'll be
Nkapé's
honest,
coming
yeah,
in on a loan.
I didn't expect us to get Eze. I didn't expect us to then go and get another defender. So I think it's safe to say the Arsenal transfer merry-go-round that we thought we once knew, we're in a new level now. Nobody knows what's going on anymore, and I'm all for it. So no, it's nice. It's good to see us finally throwing some money about, getting players in, addressing holes in the squad, raising the ceiling, raising the floor of the squad as well, and just overall really improving the squad on a whole basis. So yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, mate. You're more in the know than I am, but I I have no idea what is going to happen next with Andre Berto. He's a madman.
He's a machine. Apparently, he's a machine, isn't he? Apparently he's such a workaholic, and the Arsenal hierarchy have been nothing but impressive. And I have as well. I think in comparison to Edu was good at certain aspects, but there was a notion that he was very laser focused on targets and really didn't know how to multitask on deals. Whereas Andre Berta just seems to be everywhere. He's getting one deal done, going to another one, moving with very swiftly. So long may it continue. I'm really liking how Berta is doing things. It's now, as Dan said earlier, how he does with sales, because you're measured on both. But last couple of days of the window next week, ends on the 1st of September, I believe, Dan, isn't it? It ends on the 1st of September, the transfer window.
Yeah, at the absolutely wonderful time of 7 o'clock. Normally deadline day is,
What is this?
yeah. Don't complain, because I'm really, really happy, because normally deadline day is a shift that you're working into about. This is a very selfish point of view, by the way. So please don't, hate me for this. But normally we're working shifts until like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning after the window's finished, because you've got you've got deal sheets going through, you've got stuff like this. But the window closes at 7 o'clock on Monday, which I am absolutely buzzing about, because it means I'll, probably be all done by about 10 o'clock. So yeah, that's a very selfish.
A normal hour.
Yes.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. I completely understand. If I was having to do that on that day, it'd be pretty exhausting as well. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on the latest transfers. I'm sure Andre Berta is still thinking about stuff. But let's look at we're going to that takes a look at our the Champions League transfers, Premier League. We're gonna have a bit of fun now. Joseph, over to you, my friend. Let's get these predictions and these results out of the way. Where are we? Did I win handsomely last week? Come on,
Yeah,
Joe.
neither of us have anything to really rave about this week. We was both pretty appalling, to be honest.
Oh,
So hopefully
dear.
Dan might be able to save us by bringing in some actual football knowledge and getting some good scores. But
go on,
just
give it to me.
I'll just a quick recap on last week for you, mate. I picked you by 5 points, I'm afraid.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So you got 20, I got 25. Basically, the only difference was I got the correct score for Bournemouth 1, Wolves 0. Essentially, that was the difference between us. We both got Chelsea to beat West Ham. We both had City to beat Spurs, so that was not great. Obviously, then we had Bournemouth and Wolves. We both had Sunderland to beat Burnley, which obviously didn't go to plan. Burnley winning 2-0. Brentford beat Villa 1-0. Neither of us had Brentford to win the game. Arsenal, obviously, we both had. And then the only other one we had was Liverpool to beat Newcastle. So, yeah, it wasn't a great start for us, mate, but only things can improve from here. I would like to think, anyway.
That's right, Joe. Let's start that right now. Let's get this thing going. So
the Friday night football this week is Chelsea. Oh, sorry, not Friday night. It's Friday today, isn't it? For God's sake. So this Saturday lunchtime kickoff. Sorry, is Chelsea at home to Fulham. So yeah, I'll let you lead us off. Chelsea v Fulham. Chelsea at home.
I hate to say this, but I still Chelsea. Do you know what? Fulham are a good side, and they showed it against Man United last week. They were still the better side, I thought, but I think Chelsea is still too strong. I think Chelsea will win this one, probably 2-1. I'm going to go with Chelsea.
2-1. Excellent. Dan, as our wonderful guest, what are you going for with Chelsea Fulham?
I didn't actually know I was going to vote, so this is a joy for me to actually join in with this. Chelsea Fulham. I was really impressed with Fulham. Against Man United, but then I guess Grimsby have proven that maybe it wasn't too impressive.
Had
Yeah,
to get
no,
that in again. We just,
yeah, and also it's great to see Emil Smith Rowe still, out there scoring goals. Still very much emotionally attached to that player. I think he's a beautiful footballer to watch, and it's great to see him doing well at Fulham. And a lot of other Arsenal players doing well at ex-Arsenal players doing well at Fulham. For this one, I'm gonna. Do you know what I think? I agree with Yem. I think Chelsea will probably edge it, but just to be different, I'm gonna say 2-2. And I'm
Ooh,
going to say that it's going to be a draw.
Okay,
I like that.
interesting. What are you going for, Joe?
I'm going to go similar to you guys. I think Chelsea will probably edge it. I think it'll be quite a close game, but I think they'll sort of push on late on and maybe get a couple of goals. So I think they're going to go for a 3-1 home win for me. I think they've probably just got maybe a little bit too much for Fulham, but here's hoping that Dan's correct. Next one, seeing as we like to mention, fresh off the back of a cup defeat to Grimsby, Man United against Burnley. United are at home, if that makes any difference, which I'm not sure it does. But yeah, freshly promoted Burnley go to Old Trafford. What do you reckon? Amorim under huge pressure.
Oh yeah, apparently he's going to have a chat after the Burnley game, which obviously is. It could be anything. I still do think Man United should have enough to beat Burnley. I'm not impressed by Burnley at all at the moment. I think they got a good result against Sunderland, but it looks like those top 3 promoted teams are going to be in the relegation fight as standard in the last couple of years. I think Man United will win this 2-1.
2-1.
But I don't think it's going to be. I think United are going to. I still don't think it's going to be a fantastic performance.
I mean, it's not saying much for United.
Lucky.
2-1 at home against the promoted side, but yeah, Dan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Man United will win. I'll be interested to see their performance levels compared to, Grimsby, Fulham, and then obviously Arsenal. They looked really good in that home game, didn't they? So, I thought Burnley would be a bit, they've signed a few decent-ish players this season. Kyle Walker was an interesting one. Armando Broja, I think, if he could stay fit and replicate that season he had a few years ago at Southampton, then he could be a real asset to Burnley. But that's a big if. But yeah, I think this game I'd expect United to win. Yeah, you said 2-1.
Yeah, I said 2-1.
2-1. I'm just gonna say 1-0 to Manchester United.
Nice. Every part of me wants to have a Burnley 1-0 win for this, but I just can't. I don't think so I'm going to go. Do you know what? Screw it. I'm going to be different. I'm going 1-0 Burnley.
Oh, look at that. He's
You got
do
to
you
be
know
different.
what?
We can't just copy each other,
If that happens, I will buy your meal already because man, I want Man United to. I want that hate watch. I want it so much.
They are in the
He's
mud.
gone
Their
into
fan base
footed.
at Old Trafford is so on edge.
I know.
That it could be a very, very horrible afternoon. But let's see. Next one is Sunderland at home to Brentford.
Ooh.
I think Brentford will win this. I think the signing of Atara actually was a really good one. I thought, Dan will talk about a bit more because he's from Bournemouth. But I thought actually that was a really good signing because you give him the chance, he will become a big player. And I think for Brentford, that's an astounding, a really good buy. They're also looking at Maximilian Bayer from Dortmund, who is also a good signing, I think. I think Sunderland have spent a lot of money and they're trying to make a fist of it. I give them credit. I still don't think it's enough. I still think they're going to be stuck in the relegation battle, but I think it's going to be a Brentford win 2-1. Go for a lot of 2-1s at the moment.
Away win. You've gone 2-1 for every game so far. You're getting the score.
I know. It just feels like a nice one for me this weekend. Go on.
One of them's got to be right eventually. Dan, what do you reckon?
I think Brentford have again. I think Ratara is a good signing. I do think Brentford overpaid for him. I think a lot of Bournemouth fans were, a lot of them that I know were kind of laughing at the amount of money they got for him. Which I found interesting. But I think he'll be good for them. I think Sunderland, I'm not sure the extent of the injury to Dan Ballard. Shout out to him, by the way. He's been having a brilliant time at Sunderland. That goal in the playoff semi-final was epic, and that first day of the season in the Premier League as well was huge. Former Hairlender. But he picked up an injury in their last game, so I think he's a big loss for them at the back. I'm also going to predict a Brentford win. I'm going to say I can't say 2-1 because Jem said it, so I'll say 3-1.
3-1. Okay. One. Sorry, you won Brentford 3-1, yeah?
Yes, Brentford 3-1.
Cool. Again, I'm going to be different. I'm going to go Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. I think it's going to be tricky. So I'm going to go for a Sunderland win, just because I think their home form could see them do quite well this year. And obviously Brentford, a lot of talk that Wissa might be going as well. They've obviously lost Norgard. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how Brentford are going to cope this year with losing Thomas Frank as well. So, yeah, I'm trying to be different this week, Yen, because we kind of followed each other in our first predictions. So I'm being a bit different, and I'm going to go for
Yeah,
a
that's right.
home win for Sunderland.
Okay.
Next one, Spurs at home to Bournemouth, Saturday, 3:00.
As much as I
Ooh.
hate that I'm going to go, that I think Spurs are in the form at the moment where they usually do this at the start of the season, where they look very good and then drop off massively later on. And I think this is
Mm.
still the case. I think Spurs will win this, and I'm going to go with a 3-1 to Spurs.
He's not
I
said
think
2-1.
Bournemouth have actually.
He
I know. I
he
was thinking in the back
really
of my mind.
wanted to say 2-1, so he just had to say
I
it
know.
for
I
the.
really did, but I think Spurs are in that kind of in that mode at the moment where they look very good, but obviously once the competition start, they struggle a little bit with their depth. Obviously, they've just bought Javi Simons, who's I think is a very good buy for them.
Mm.
But I think they'll do well here. I think Bournemouth are still struggling with the loss of most of their defense, but they've put a good show good show together in the games they've had. But I still think Tottenham will still be too strong for them.
Nice. Dan?
I'm going to say 2-1 to Bournemouth.
Nice. Like
Whoa!
it.
I said it. Yeah, I
Nice.
don't know. I think Bournemouth look good, and they've made a couple of decent signings recently. I won't go too deep into it, but they always seem to do quite well at Tottenham as well.
Mm.
Yeah, why not? 2-1 to Bournemouth. I think yeah, there's a lot going on with them at the moment in terms of Andoni Iraola's done a really good job there, so I'll be interested to see. I actually thought he might go to Spurs if Thomas Frank didn't, so I'll be interested to see how much longer he stays at Bournemouth and what kind of goes on for him after that.
Nice. I'm gonna go score draw. I think 2-2. I think there'll be goals in it. I know Thomas Frank's trying to improve the Spurs backline, but Bournemouth are really impressive, I think, against Liverpool especially, and sort of carried on that form last year. And Semenyo's fantastic. So I think they'll cause Spurs problems. Spurs probably started the season quite well. So yeah, I can see goals in that game. So I'm going to go 2-2. Next one for the Saturday is Wolves at home to Everton, Yen.
Everton looked good on the first day, but then struggled badly on the second. I can't predict. I'm going to go with the 1-1 here because I think Wolves are struggling, but I I don't think Everton are that much better either. So 1-1 for me.
Yeah, nice. Dan?
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Everton away win.
Ooh,
Ooh.
I like it. I'm going to copy you here, Yen. I think that could be a bit of a boring game as well, but I'm going to go 0-0. I don't think either of them have got much about them, to be honest. So could be a bit of a ball fest, that one. Next one, Leeds at home to Newcastle.
It's a classic affair, actually. I love that Leeds are back in the Premier League, and it's just
Yeah, a bit of a
evoking
nostalgia.
those memories. Yeah, I mean, Ellen Road's a tough place to go to. I think this suits Newcastle's game down to the ground. They want this kind of knock down, drag out. They've got the quality as well. Still, you saw it at the Liverpool game. Although they've lost their current striker, which is Anthony Gordon, obviously. They've got Waltonard. I don't think he'll start though, because I think he's only probably signing today or tomorrow, and I don't think there's enough time for him. Actually, he can't play because he can't be registered now. Um, I I still think Newcastle's got enough about them. I'm going to go with a 2-1 here, which you boys are going to go, oh, he's back to it again, but 2-1 Newcastle.
You are
I will
Newcastle.
say as well that the signing of Noah Okafor from Milan is actually a really good one if he can stay injury free.
Mm. Interesting. Dan, a bit north of your expertise, but what do you reckon?
Well, no, yeah. I mean, I did see a lot of Leeds, obviously, the last couple of seasons in the Championship. Watched
Mm,
Southampton beat them in the playoff final, which was a very nice day because some Leeds fans were giving us grief on Wembley Way, which I was maybe slightly happy or not happy about. Um, but Leeds are a huge fan base, and going to Ellen Road, as Yum said, is a huge task. Um, I do think though that if you've got the quality, you can nullify that crowd quite quickly. Leeds have got a few, good
mm.
players. Tanaka's a really good midfield player, but ultimately, I don't know if it is enough in the Premier League. So, I'm going to go for a Newcastle win. I'm going to go 3-1 to Newcastle.
3-1 Newcastle. Likewise, after seeing Leeds, I know Arsenal are a different kettle of fish, but I didn't see an awful lot from Leeds in that first game, or the second game, sorry, against us. So I think a Newcastle win, and I'm going to go. Ooh, I like your 3-1, Dan, but I won't copy you, so I'll go 3-0 Newcastle, I think.
You can go 3-1
Right,
if you
into
want
the
because
Sunday
you guys
game.
are you're having the dinner. The
No,
competition's here. It's not me.
no, it's all right. We don't like to copy, Dan. We like to do things original on this channel.
All
Uh,
right, all right.
right, Sunday games. The early one is Brighton at home to City. Yeah,
Oh,
City win. I can't see. I think Brighton are a good side. I think Fabian Hurst's still a good manager. They could cause problems, but I just think City are a bit of an unknown quantity because their midfield is a little bit rocky at the moment. Reinders looked fabulous in the first game, but looked really bad against Tottenham. They're going to respond. I think they'll win, and I think they're going to win 3-0.
3-0. Nice. Over to you, Dan.
I'm going to say 2-0 to Manchester City. Agree. I think,
Mm.
the last game was pretty tough for them against Spurs, and I think they'll bounce back.
Nice. Like you two, City win. I think there could be a few more goals, so I'm going to go 4-1 to City for that one.
Oh,
Ooh.
Right. Nottingham Forest at home to West Ham.
oh dear, West Ham. Oh dear. I think Graham Potter's due for the chop, and I think it'll be pretty soon. I think it might actually be after this game, in fact, because I think Nottingham Forest are going to beat them quite handsomely. I think this is going to be a 4-1 to Nottingham
4-1.
Forest because I
Wow.
think
Big result.
there's too many problems. There's just too many problems with West Ham. You can see it already. They're struggling. The players are not listening to Potter, and it's a pattern that's developed. Actually, at Chelsea, this same kind of thing happened. He doesn't
Mm.
know what formation he's playing. There's a disconnect clearly between the director of football and him. I think this is going to be pretty bad.
4-1 Forest. Home win. I like
Mm.
it. Dan.
Yeah, I find it interesting. Obviously, West Ham today have announced the signing of Mateus Fernandes from Saints for 40 odd million pounds. So, I
Is he
don't
worth
know.
that?
To be honest, he was Saints' best player last season in a very, very tough campaign. I think it's very good money for Southampton what they got for him. I don't know if it's the answer to their problems and their struggles. So I'm also going to predict a Nottingham Forest win in this game. I'm going to say 3-2. I think they might, we might
Ooh,
see a few goals. And I mean, Jarrett Bowen's just got an
you can't.
England call up as well, hasn't he? So
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. 3-2. I'm going to go for. I think. Are West Ham going to score? Hmm. I'm not sure. I'm going to go 3-0 Forest again. West Ham are in the mud. They're really struggling at the moment. Right. The big one. Liverpool and Arsenal, Yem. You get to go first.
I'm gonna I'm gonna back the boys. I'm gonna back them because I love her, and I think we've got a chance this season. I am gonna go with a 2-1 Arsenal. I think we can do it. So 1-2 effectively, but I think we can do it.
First time since
I've got the belief.
you reckon 14 years of hurt is going to be over, Yem?
Yeah, but I think yeah, I'm backing the lads.
Nice. I like it. Dan, can we keep the positivity going?
nice and easy. 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Hey!
Set piece FC.
Oh,
Yeah. Gabriel throwing himself across the 6-yard box to header it into the far corner. I've seen it already. In the white
I
kit.
love it. I love it. Oh, yeah, we
Yeah,
are playing in the white kit. Oh, it's the third
yeah.
kit of the week.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be ambitious and say 3-1 to Arsenal.
Ooh, so positive all round. That's a positive. It's
Wow.
positivity
I
all round.
think
I love it.
I think we can win. I think it'll be like a tight game. I could see us getting like into 2-1, Liverpool pushing on late in the game, and then we get a breakaway goal and just kill it off late in the game. So I reckon that's how that one could go down.
I like it, Joe.
Particularly Sunday night, 7 o'clock, Aston Villa against Crystal Palace. Villa at home.
I never understand these 7 o'clock games. It's the weirdest time. Can you imagine if you're a fan
Oh,
going to Villa Park?
It's
from
internationals
Crystal
next
Palace?
week, so no one can play on the Monday.
Yeah, that's it. I think so because it's straight into international.
Yeah.
I think
Villa
Villa will
Palace,
win
yeah.
this. I think Crystal Palace have had. Yeah, I think Villa are going to win this just purely because Crystal Palace had a game last night. I think they're still getting used to the Thursday, Sunday piece, and I think Villa are still a good team. I don't think they've bought particularly well, but it looks like they're about to sign Marco Asensio back on a permanent. I think Villa will win this 2-1. Hey, look, I'm finishing strong with my go-to scoreline.
I like it. Dan?
I'm going to say 2-0 to Villa.
You want to say 2-1, don't lie. You want
No,
to
I
say
didn't.
2-1.
I didn't.
You're
I didn't.
feeling it in your.
That's your thing, Yem. That's your thing.
I'm going to go for. I'm going to go 1-1 in that one. I think Crystal Palace. I thought they was going to struggle last week, but I think they did quite well, if my memory serves correctly, at the weekend. So yeah, I'm going to go with a little draw for that one. So yeah, that is it. They are in.
Fair enough.
I'll keep an eye on them again, Yem, and Dan. Obviously, make sure you're tuning in, and I'll make sure to sing your praises if you trumps me and Yem, because apparently we're not very good at this.
Please do. Please do. I look forward to keeping updated with this as the season progresses.
Thank you very much. No, thanks, Joe, for that. Appreciate it. We're going to end the show there. My thanks to Dan George, who's been excellent. Loved having you on, my friend. It is an absolute pleasure always to talk to you, but thank you for coming on the show. Again, we're going to have you back soon, and you've just been a joy as always. So thanks for that.
Not at all.
If you want to, as I said, if you want to make sure you follow Dan George's content on X, on the BBC, make sure you keep an eye out for him because he's going to be doing big things. My thanks as always to my lovely co-host Joe, who's gonna go to big things in different ways. I think we're big things for everybody. I predict
they'll be big.
Big, they'll be big. Yeah, they'll be big.
I'll be Dan's bag carrier.
Thank you everyone for listening. But thank you everyone for listening and supporting the show. If you do like the content, please do subscribe to us. Keep listening. Make sure you do follow us on X, on TikTok. We're trying to keep the content fresh. We're trying to keep it, we're doing these preview and hopefully we'll have a post Liverpool review where we're very positive as well because we've won, but we'll be there regardless. And we're going to catch you on the next one of Red Lines, Half Spaces. See you then.